April 14th, 2025. I am your host, Matthew Burris, for Matt's World of Wrestling with Comics. And as always, it is my world, and you all just live in it. And this is the final Hot Topic Monday for the show. Next week, I will officially be going to once a week, which is Thursdays. So you all can tune in for that. And before we get into it, a few things. First and foremost, tomorrow I will officially be a year and 4 months sober. Yep. My anniversary is the 15th. So, I will be a year and 4 months sober. Yeah, I was a year sober in December. You know, December 15th is my sobriety day. And it's hard, but, it can be done, and I got a lot of people to thank for that, my sponsor Ralph, the people, at the AA meeting in Charlestown, and God, my mom, my friend Claire Gunther, and yeah, just a lot of people to thank. So yep, a year and 5 months sober tomorrow, or today by the time this is loaded up. And also turns out that Lent is officially over on Easter Sunday. So a few more days without meat, which is good. Actually, it was a little more torturous because last night I had a weird dream that I was eating meat, and so I gotta wait till WrestleMania Sunday to eat meat, and I'll talk a little bit more about that on Thursday when I do the WrestleMania predictions. So we're gonna get right into it, and we're gonna do it a little different here. Normally I start off with what happened on Monday Night Raw. Tonight I'm gonna start off with a little something different. Why? Because I just felt like it, and two, it's my last show, so I do whatever I want. And we're gonna start off with the collected editions for April 16th. Or 15th, or whatever day you get your comics. First, we go to the world of Marvel. We have Black Widow Modern Era Epic Collection. Yep, the Modern Era Epic Collection with the Itsy Bitsy Spider. And the collection includes Black Widow 1999, number 1 through 3. Black Widow 2001, number 1 through 3. Black Widow Pale Little Spider, number 1 through 3. That's from 2002. Black Widow 2004, number 1 through 6. And Black Widow, The Things They Say About Her, from 2005, 1 through 6. So if you're a fan of Black Widow, you're definitely going to want to pick this up. Good old cran mango. Next, we have The Fantastic Four by Ryan Worth, Volume 5, Aliens, Ghosts, and Alternate Earths. So this is Ryan North's fifth volume of working on Fantastic Four. The collection includes Fantastic Four from 2022, number 23 to 27. So you're definitely going to want to get that before the new Fantastic Four movie comes out. Next, from Marvel Masterworks, we have Captain America Volume 1. Of course, this is from the Tales of Suspense era, him and Iron Man. And the collection includes Tales of Suspense number 59 through 81. So if you're a fan of that era of Captain America, you're definitely going to want to pick that up. Next, we have not one but two Black Panther books coming out. First, we have Predator vs. Black Panther, which is the sequel to Predator vs. Wolverine, which is a book I never read. The collection includes Panther vs. Black Panther number 1 through 4. Oh, so it's a 4-part miniseries. Plus I feel like the whole Predator versus thing has kind of, worn out its course, with Predator versus Aliens, and now we got Predator versus in the comics. To me, it's just a little too much. Let me take one last swig here. Next, we have Ultimate Black Panther by Brian Hill, Volume 2. So, Gods and Kings. So, this is continuing on with Brian Hill's work on Ultimate Black Panther. And the collection includes Ultimate Black Panther number 7 through 12 from 2024. So, you're definitely going to want to get that. Another Black Panther book. And next we have, and this one's actually piquing my curiosity because I love this character so much. Wolverine by Jason Aaron, Omnibus Volume 1. So this is when Jason Aaron worked on it. I actually never heard of him until today. The collection includes Wolverine, number 50. Yeah, from 2003, number 56. Number 56. And we have 62 to 65. Wolverine Manifest Destiny, number 1 through 4. Wolverine Weapon X, 2009. Not to be confused with the Weapon X origin story from the 90s. Number 1 through 16. We have Dark Reign, The List, Wolverine. Material from Wolverine 2003, number 73 to 74. Dark X-Men, The Beginning, number 3, and Wolverine, number 175, Wolverine 1988. So, definitely really curious about this one. I mean, from what I've read, in the synopsis and stuff, they have some good stories here, and I love Wolverine, so. Next, we have Wolverine Deep Cut, and the collection includes the Deep Cut story, Deep Cut number 1 through 4. So, if you want to read it, I suggest you go ahead and do it. And that is it for DC Comics, and now we're going to go into what happened on Raw tonight. First and foremost, we had Bayley defeat Liv Morgan, some interference from both Lyra Valkyrie and Raquel Rodriguez. And and Bayley and Liv Morgan, they put on a great match. Bayley finally getting the win, a roll-up win. And I mean, this is looking so far so good. I mean, for WrestleMania. So and again, I'm not gonna go into how usually I say like, well, here's where I see what goes, and no, I'm gonna save all the my predictions and stuff for Thursday. So Thursday, I will actually be talking about who I think is gonna go over at Mania. So there. And we also had Rey Mysterio defeat Julius Creed in a singles match. Of course, first there was interference by American Made and LWO. They both got sent to the back. And then Ariana Grande Americano. Always wanted to say that. Tried to interfere, but to no use. Rey Mysterio won and got a post-show beatdown. And this is really, shaping up to be a great match. So yeah. Then we had AJ Styles. Yep, we had AJ Styles defeat Karrion Kross, and Karrion Kross was trying to make AJ Styles go back to his darker side because he thinks that's what he needs to do in order to defeat Logan Paul. And at one point, Karrion Kross faked an ankle injury and tricked AJ Styles, sucker punched him. AJ got the win, and then Logan Paul came out and attacked him. And so yeah, I mean AJ Styles and Logan Paul. That's gonna be an awesome match. I mean both these guys are high flyers. I mean it's gonna be an incredible match. And we had the Rey Fenix versus Karrion Kross match that ended in a disqualification. Of course, the Judgment Day, they beat up Braun Breaker in the back, and then Braun came out, got some revenge, and this is beginning to look pretty awesome. We also had the build up for the women's triple threat match for the women's world title. We had Io Sky, we had Rhea Ripley, we had Bianca Belair. I mean, a little disappointed that all three weren't there, but just trying to save it. I understand. So, and then we had Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, and CM Punk in the same arena. We had Roman Reigns and Paul Heyman come out, and Paul trying to explain to Roman that he is it was a favor that he owed to Punk. Roman not too happy about that, so he wasn't buying it, and saying that we're the bloodline, we take whatever we don't take, we don't owe favors. And then Seth Rollins came out in like this black leather vest and black pants, kind of similar to very similar to what he wore in the Shield. And then talking about why Paul Heyman is with CM Punk, and trying to get Roman Reigns to drop him, and Roman says, wise man, you made, he's right, you made your choice and I made mine. And then he attacks Seth Rollins, and then he pushed down Paul Heyman, just pushed him down, pie faced him, just like, ugh. I was like, oh shit. And I really thought, actually for a moment, I thought Roman was going to, give him a spear or a Superman punch, But of course that didn't happen, and then CM Punk came out, and, they got into it, and then to end the show, Seth Rollins, jumped them both from behind with a steel chair, and both gave him both the curb stomp. So good way to end Monday Night Raw there. Oh yeah, I forgot. Gunther and Jey Uso, they both said their promos, building up to the match. And lately, since what happened to Jimmy, Jey hasn't been. I mean, Jey's still been making the entrances, but he hasn't been doing the yeets. I mean, as the crowd has been doing the yeets, and it's like he's completely focused, and I love that. He's like 100% focused, ready for this match. He's not going in there shucking and jiving, just straight business. And that's great for the build-up for, that's a great build-up for, for the match at Mania. So definitely looking forward to that. And now we're going to get into the collected edition for DC Comics, and surprisingly not much here. We only got there's only like 3 DC Comics books that are coming out this week. So we have the All-Star Superman Deluxe Edition that will be coming out. The collection includes All-Star Superman 1 through 12. Then we got material from Absolute All-Star Superman. And of course, this is all leading up to when the new Superman movie comes out. So, and actually, I've been very curious to read this. I know they have the DC compact version of it, and I like Grant Morrison. He's another great writer in my opinion. I mean, go read some of the stuff he's done for Batman. He's incredible. So I think I might try to get this one, as well. Also, we have the Legion of Superheroes 5 Years Later Omnibus Volume 1. So, if you're a fan of the Legion of Superheroes, you're definitely going to want to pick that up. And finally, we have another one from the Man of Steel. We have Superman Unchained Deluxe Edition. Collection includes Superman Unchained number 1 through 9. And yeah, I mean, I was actually talking to my friend Claire, which, by the way, shout out to you, Claire. Hello. I was telling her about, like, this summer, because, like, she's not I mean, for those of you who listen to our show, I mean, she was somewhat interested, I mean, she was somewhat curious about, like my passion for comics and pro wrestling and stuff. But she's not really a fan of superhero movies, and we actually had this discussion today. And, and I was telling her, I said, like, look, I know you're not going to see the movie, but there's no way you're going to be able to escape it. This is going to be everywhere, I mean, the build-up is just going to be crazy, I mean, I don't know how much money it'll make at the box office. I mean, personally, I think it's going to be big. I don't know what the numbers are going to be, but I think, in my opinion, it's going to be big. Yeah, and that's all I'll say about that. And now we're gonna go right into the top 10. We're going into the top 10 bloodiest matches in WrestleMania history. Yep, and this is, of course, the matches that I picked. Of course, every match, is different. You all may have your own top 10. Wrestling is subjective. So, coming in at number 10 from WrestleMania 2, Hulk Hogan versus Bundy. I mean, there was some blood in that match. I mean, Bundy wasn't like gushing or anything, but you could see the blood on his face, and that match is historic because not only was it the first steel cage match in WrestleMania history, but it was also the debut of the infamous Blue Bars. Yep, old Bluey, the blue steel cage. Up until then, the cage matches in WWE, it was just like traditional, cages, just a chain link fence. Although in Mid-South they did do one cage match with bars, and of course it was a little wider and you could walk around the ringside area a little bit. It was Mr. Wrestling 2 and Magnum TA versus Butch Reed and what was it? Butch Reed and Jim Neidhart. So if you ever get a chance, go watch it on YouTube, because it's a great match. But anyways, like those blue bars, like they had little to no give. Unlike the chain link fences where like you spring and stuff. Those blue bars, they hurt like a bitch. I've heard tons of wrestlers talk about that, and they really did hurt. And and this was like the the first debut of it, and also, like I said, the first steel cage match in WrestleMania history. And Bundy, he just was just leaking, and Elvira, she was going crazy over the blood, and she was saying like, it's making me hungry. Yep. And it was a good match too. Definitely go look that match up. Coming in at number 9, this one also involving Hulk Hogan. This time, it's his match with Sergeant Slaughter from WrestleMania 7. And, of course, this happens in the match when Slaughter hit Hulk Hogan with a steel chair. And this was just a regular match and stuff. And there were times when Slaughter was, like, cheating and stuff like that. He was, like, trying to get him. They were playing up the fact that, Sergeant Slaughter, he doesn't have to win the match. He can get himself disqualified or counted out and he would still win the title. And I don't know if it was General Edna that distracted the ref, but I think it was. Or maybe, because the ref let a lot of stuff go in this match. And Slaughter, whacked Hogan in the chair. Whacked Hogan with the chair. Blah. Whacked Hogan with the chair. And, he is just busted open. You could see, like, the blood pouring out of it. And, of course, as we all know, Hogan, he does the Hulk up. And, he actually kicked out when Slaughter tried to cover him with the Iraqi flag. He hulks up. He rips open the Iraqi flag. Oh, sorry, the Iran flag or Iraqi, whatever, and just and does the the boot and the leg drop, 1, 2, 3, and then at one point with the American flag, he wipes his blood on it and gave it back to Vladimir. Yep, Vladimir, the Where's Waldo of WrestleMania. Actually, also the Where's Waldo of WWE, really. And in the documentary, they showed Vladimir, and he actually still has that. He still has that flag with Hulk Hogan's blood. He has like a whole collection of WWE memorabilia and stuff from all the WrestleManias he's been to. He's wow. He really is a super fan. So, but nonetheless, go check that out. Really, just go check it out. It's amazing. Coming in at number 8 from, ironically, WrestleMania 8, Roddy Piper versus Bret Hart for the Intercontinental Championship. And I've talked about this dozens of times, in reviewing this match. Piper, of course, did a spot where he uppercutted Bret. Bret was going to tie his shoes, and Piper just boom uppercutted him, and Bret was busted open. And of course, WWE, at that time they kind of had a no blading policy. They were trying to really hold back on the blood. Trying to make it more family friendly or whatever. But they made it look. Piper tried to make it look like it was hard way. And that's why, during the match, he just kept, hitting at it, jab, and punching at it and stuff like that. Bret Hart never really he never was really bloody in all his matches. Rarely did he ever bled, but this one, to quote Gordon Soley, his face is covered in a crimson mask. Blood was just like gushing out. His whole face was covered in blood. And Bret, he managed to work through it, to his credit. And of course he did the spot where he drop kicked the ring the turnbuckle and flipped on Piper, got the 1, 2, 3, won the Intercontinental Championship. That was the same move that he would do years later to Stone Cold Steve Austin for their match at Survivor Series 96, which, by the way, a great match. Go and watch it. But yeah, there was Bret was bleeding a lot there, but of course it would be topped by number 7 from WrestleMania 8, Ric Flair versus Macho Man Randy Savage. And of course, I've also talked about this as well. Again, no blood policy, no bleeding. And of course, Flair, he managed to blade. He did blade himself, and of course didn't try to hide it, unlike Piper and Brett. And when Flair came back to the back after the match, Vince McMahon, he told him, "You will never learn." and and of course, I always joke about it when I say this, but it is kind of true. It's really not a Ric Flair match unless he's bleeding. Ric Flair is, what without a doubt, the best bleeder ever in professional wrestling. Well, I would say one of. I would say maybe. Actually, I would say Abdullah the Butcher is number one, because in 99% of his matches, Abdullah always bled, whereas Ric Flair, he would bleed, but it wouldn't be often. It wouldn't be like on television or anything. It would mostly be like for the big events and whatnot. I think, especially like in the 90s, like in the like late 90s and 2000s, up until his it was like his final matches in WWE and then in TNA. And and you look at the blood in that match, against Savage. The blood was all in his hair. That's when he had that perfect blonde hair, and the front part, like, blood was just all over in the hair and stuff like that. Just, ugh, yeesh. It's like no wonder he cut it shorter years later, but, you see the blood, man. Geesh. But it's amazing, and it's a great match, this was, out of all the matches they've had in their rivalry, in WWE and WCW, this was the best one, in my opinion. Yeah, it was the best one. Coming in at number 6 from WrestleMania 17, The Undertaker versus Triple H. This was the first of 3 matches that they would have against each other. And the thing about this match is that this was just a regular match. It was a regular match, but what happened was, the referees kept getting beat up, one by one, and then Hunter and Taker, they took it to the outside, and it really wasn't until like a little towards the end of the match when Undertaker went to go for the last ride, and Triple H, hit Undertaker with a sledgehammer, and Undertaker was busted open, reopening the 16 stitches that he got, like weeks ago. And, you just... And rarely did you ever see The Undertaker, like, bleed. I think, up until... he did bleed before, I think the last time he bled was in the... I think it was the first blood match with Austin, at Fully Loaded 99. And, of course, Undertaker fought through it, and he got the win on Triple H. And, just the bloody match, man. It was bloody, it was brutal, there was chairs, tables, and, sledgehammers. It was just a brutal match, so definitely go back and watch that one, especially if you're a fan of all 3 of their matches. Coming in at number 5 from WrestleMania 18, Ric Flair versus The Undertaker, their no disqualification match. And once again, it's not a Ric Flair match unless he's bleeding. And by this time, Flair had, cut his hair and stuff like that. But seeing the blood, just get all up in that white hair, just, ugh, And Undertaker, he bled during the match as well. He bled, from the top of his head. And then he got Hardway on his cheek. It was this cheek right here, the left cheek, and, he was, both guys were bloody and brutal, and this was Ric Flair's, like, real big challenge, because he had come back at the Royal Rumble. Um, he had the street fight match with Vince McMahon where, he bled buckets in that one, and so did Vince. And now he's in there with a real veteran, The Undertaker. And this was like only Ric Flair's second match, and, making this comeback and stuff. And this was the match that really kind of boosted his confidence. And and from then on, Ric Flair kept wrestling and, would wrestle up until WrestleMania 24. And, it was just a great knockdown, drag out, bloody fight. And against somebody like The Undertaker, who by this point was a legend, and he was, he was 10-0. Yeah, he was 10-0 at WrestleMania by this point. Wait, 7, 8, 9, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Yeah, he was 10-0. Oh, I think actually 11-0, I believe. I keep forgetting count. Oh, damn it. But nonetheless, still a great match. I mean, it was a war. I mean, I've seen this match. I mean, it's tremendous. It's one of those WrestleMania matches that I never get tired of watching. And anybody, who can watch this match and say that it doesn't do anything for them, I mean, you're insane. You're just insane. And coming in at number 4 from WrestleMania 20, we have the triple threat match for the World Heavyweight title. Triple H versus Shawn Michaels versus Chris Benoit. And this was a bloody match. I mean, both Triple H and Shawn Michaels bled. I mean, especially Shawn. Triple H is another great bleeder, and and Shawn Michaels, he was also known for being a great bleeder as well. I mean, the only time he really did, I mean, in WWE, WWF, he never really bled as much. I mean, the only time he really bled was at the was in the first Hell in a Cell match at Bad Blood, and you see, his face is just covered in red and stuff like that. And I mean, up until then, I think one of the last times he bled was one of the tag matches he had against Doug Summers and Buddy Rose during his days as a member of the Midnight Rockers. Their matches in the AWA. And in this one, I mean, both Shawn and Triple H, just bled buckets, and Triple H was a great bleeder as well. The guy, he was bleeding buckets as well, and I think the most Triple H has probably, I think the most he's probably bled was was maybe the last 2 matches he did with Mick Foley. The 2000 Royal Rumble, the street fight, and the Hell in a Cell match at at No Way Out in 2000 as well. I think that's the most he's probably ever bled. But yeah, definitely go back and watch that match. And regardless of what you think about Chris Benoit, it's still a great match, and it was a great moment as well, especially in the end when we saw Eddie and Chris Benoit together. So, yeah, go back and watch it. Coming in at number 3, we have from WrestleMania 22, and I had the privilege and honor of watching this. HBK Shawn Michaels versus Vince McMahon in a street fight. Yep, I actually ordered this pay-per-view, and Vince McMahon, Vince McMahon, of course, as we all know, he's had his matches at WrestleMania where he always loses, and he lost at 17 to Shane McMahon. Then he lost at 19. Yep, he lost at 19 to Hulk Hogan. And of course, here he is again against Shawn Michaels, because of course, Vince McMahon never learns. And the storyline going into this one was that Vince McMahon didn't like the fact that Shawn Michaels, had changed. Shawn was telling Vince, hey, listen, the Montreal Screwjob was years ago. It's all time that we move on. And Vince from then on just tries to make his life a living hell. And then Shawn and Vince McMahon, they agree to fight each other, and it's going to be in a street fight. And I mean, Shawn Michaels, just prevailed in that one, and that was also the WrestleMania debut in that match of the Spirit Squad, which also include a young Dolph Ziggler and, of course, a young Kenny Dystra. And Shawn Michaels fought them off, and then, then there was the two infamous spots where Shawn, took the framed picture of Vince on the cover of Muscle and Fitness magazine and bashed it over his head. And then there's the one where he put Vince's head in the trash lid, and Vince was on the table, and Shawn, off the top of the ladder, drove the elbow down. I mean, Vince McMahon was just a bloody mess in that one, man. I mean, Vince McMahon is another great bleeder as well. I mean, he's been known to bleed a lot in his matches. Yeah, most of his matches. And then Shawn delivered the super kick, 1, 2, 3. And like I said, I had the privilege of watching this match. And it was a terrific match. I mean, Shawn Michaels, proving once again why he is, in fact, Mr. WrestleMania. I mean, even in WrestleMania 20, he didn't win the match, but he still turned out a great performance, I mean, he really is the showstopper. And actually, his another nickname should be called the show stealer, because he really is known for stealing the show. So, and speaking of WrestleMania 19, coming in at number 2 from WrestleMania 19, Hulk Hogan versus Vince McMahon, 20 years in the making. And and I also had the privilege of watching this. I actually watched this WrestleMania at my brother's house. My brother and my cousin Jeffrey, who, by the way, shout out to those guys. Hey guys, what's up? We actually watched this WrestleMania over at my brother and my cousin's house, and they were living in an apartment together at the time, and and I was so excited for this one. Hulk Hogan versus Vince McMahon. Once again, Vince McMahon never learns. And they both beat the shit out of each other. I mean, both guys were bleeding, Hogan and Vince. And I mean, Hogan, by this time, he was starting to slow down a little bit, but he still had a little bit left in him. He still managed to put on some good matches as well. And I mean, there's even one point where Vince, from the top of the ladder, he does, mocks Hogan with the cupping to the ear and does the leg drop on Hogan through the table. And then we all know the infamous shot where he has the lead pipe in his hand and Vince's face is just bleeding and gushing blood, And Piper came, Piper came out, decked Hogan. That wasn't enough. Hogan hulked up, the big boot, the leg drop, 1, 2, 3, But still, it was an amazing match. I mean, Vince McMahon just... I mean, he really did get the shit kicked out of him. And, of course, it was also funny when, when he's lying down and, he gives Hulk the finger. And, yeah, my cousin Jeffrey was saying, he's like, yeah, I can still give you the finger. Yeah, and also, they were also making fun of Booker T. My brother, for some reason, cannot stand Booker T. I mean, he doesn't like him for some reason. I mean, my brother's a hater, and he was referring to Booker T as Booker T. Of course, during his match with Triple H, which the less said about that, the better. And he was complaining about, he just kept making fun of Booker, when Booker was in pain, with his knee, when he was was all like, oh, I got a big booger in my nose. I need a tissue. I'm just like, oh, dude, shut up. So, but yeah, I mean, but that match, Hogan versus Vince McMahon, awesome match. Go back and watch that. I mean, it's incredible. It's just an incredible bloody match. And what match could top that one? Well, coming in at numero uno, the match that is going into the Hall of Fame this year. Yeah, that's right, from WrestleMania 13. Bret Hart versus Stone Cold Steve Austin from WrestleMania 13, the submission match. And I mean, these two had a great series of matches. I mean, their match at Survivor Series, sometimes gets overlooked. I mean, because it's a wonderful match because it was Bret's first match. Coming back to the company after half of the year off, and him and Stone Cold put on a terrific match. And this match here, I just wound up blowing it out of the water, because it's a submission match. It was like, Stone Cold, the ass kicker, and it's like, how is he going to beat Bret Hart? He says, like, oh, I'm going to beat Bret Hart in the submission. And Bret being the excellence of execution, a great technical wrestler. And on top of that, Bret is, being seen as a whiner and a crybaby, and Stone Cold, like, he just keeps getting more popular and popular and popular, and these two had a heck of a match. I mean, without blood, it would have been a good match, but it wouldn't have been a great match. But when they did that spot where Austin, like, went running to the guardrail and then he bled, I mean, like, throughout the match he's just bleeding and he's got a bum knee. I mean, it just became a tremendous match. I mean, especially the part where, like, he's when Bret has him in the sharpshooter, and Austin, he's like, he's rising up, he's trying to fight out of it, he's like, ah, you see the blood just trickling down his face, and just coming down his face, and then and it looks like he's about to break it, but then Bret gets it back in. And Ken Shamrock, I mean, he was the special guest referee, by the way, and he did a tremendous job. I mean, the parts where he's like, Steve, answer me. Steve, do you give up? If you do not answer me, I will stop the fight. And it was just, I mean, that is a bloody match, and, and it's a great match, too. I mean, great. Like, contrast of styles, the submission expert, the technician versus, the brawling, tough redneck from Texas, and I mean, geez, it makes me want to go look at that match right now, but unfortunately I soon have to go to bed after this. So yep, that is number 1 on my top 10 bloodiest matches in WrestleMania history. So that's the last of the top 10 WrestleMania countdowns until next year. And finally, for the collected editions for April 16th, 2025, we go into the indies. We have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Turtle Power Pack. They really are coming out with a lot of these Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle graphic novels lately, so I'm actually waiting on the Last Ronin one, the new Last Ronin. I haven't read the Lost Years one, and I've been meaning to buy that, I mean, I have part 1, but I really need to get caught up in the prequel and then go on to the last one. Next, we have Star Trek Pleroma. I'm not really a fan of Star Trek, but if you're a fan of Star Trek, then go ahead and get it. Next, we have the Powerpuff Girls. The Day is Saved. So once again, the day is saved thanks to the Powerpuff Girls. Yeah, I actually used to watch Powerpuff Girls as a kid, me and my cousins, and so If you're a fan of the Powerpuff Girls, then you're definitely going to want to read this. I never read any of the comics or graphic novels, but if you're a fan, then you're definitely going to want to pick that up. And finally, for those of you who are a fan of the movie, well, it's been most people don't really like this movie. Some do. But either way, if you're a fan of the movie, or if you're somebody who's seen the movie but read the comics before the movie, this is Tank Girl, The Color Classics, Book 1, 1988 to 1990. And yep, I mean, I haven't read Tank Girl either. I heard that the comics, though, are pretty good. And you know what? If they ever do if they ever do a remake, if they ever do another Tank Girl movie, I think that Gwen Stefani should play the role. Yeah, I would love to see Gwen Stefani in that role. I mean, nothing against Lori Petty. Lori. Actually, it's been a while since I've watched the movie. I gotta go watch the movie again. But I think Gwen Stefani would make for a great Tank Girl. I mean, I thought she would have made for a great Tank Girl, right at the height of her career, like when she went solo, the first two solo albums, and leaving No Doubt for a while. I mean, she would have made for a great Tank Girl, you know. So, I mean, actually, I think Kat Dennings would also make for a great Tank Girl too. I can see her as a blonde too, and it's also interesting because I think Kat Dennings would make for a great Gwen Stefani too. If they ever decide to do a movie on Gwen Stefani's life, I think Kat Dennings she would be the perfect person to play Gwen Stefani. So, and going into my other top 10, this is the top 10 Batman villains. Yep, I mean, I think you all can pretty much guess who's number one, but, but just humor me and go along here with this list. Coming in at number 10, the Mad Hatter. The Mad Hatter, I never heard of the Mad Hatter up until I saw the animated series, and some of the episodes he appeared in, were they were kind of cool. I mean, the one where I think his best appearance, I believe his best appearance was the one, I forget the name of it, but it was one where Batman is kidnapped and he dreams that, what his life would be like if his parents hadn't died, and that Batman, arrives, but he's not Batman. That was a good one. And also I did like his appearance in Trial. I thought he was good in that one as well. And yet there's also I was talking with Claire today about because I was trying to explain to her that the reason why they keep coming out with these movies, because the graphic novels, there's a graphic novel or there's great stories that come out, and whether it's Disney with Marvel or Warner Brothers with DC, they want to say well, hey, we can do an adaptation of that, whether it's live or animated. And I said to her well, there's never been a Mad Hatter Batman movie. The Mad Hatter has never been in a Batman movie. Neither has Man Bat. And I said well, those characters, people want to see them in those movies. And she's like, well, what does it matter? It's another hero trying to fight evil. I mean, it's the same thing. But I mean, no hard feelings. I still love Claire. But the Mad Hatter, he's a tremendous villain, and I mean, also go read the story in the Batman. Was it the Batman? I just had it in my mind too. Oh yeah, Haunted Night, the Batman Haunted Night stories. I mean, the the one story with him, I mean, like that is just awesome. I mean, Jeff Loeb wrote a great Mad Hatter Batman story. Coming in at number 9 is the Riddler. I knew of the Riddler from the '60s TV series. Frank, I think it's Gorshin. Hope I pronounced that right. He was a great Riddler, and I thought he was wonderful in the animated series. Jim Carrey. Yeah, Jim Carrey's Riddler was also cool too. I mean, people have said like his Riddler was a little too over the top, but you got to understand at that time, Jim Carrey, he was known as, as a comedic actor, he was always known for being like so wacky and over the top. And I loved Jim Carrey. I loved him in Ace Ventura, more so in Ace Ventura Part 2. I loved him in Dumb and Dumber, Liar Liar, which was later. But but Batman Forever, he was good in that one too. I thought he was a good Riddler as well. I mean, he had that great iconic line, riddle me this, riddle me that. Who's afraid of the big black bat? I mean, I just loved that line, and I also loved the part where he was in the back and he goes, computer alert, shut up. Yeah, I thought he was great in that too. And in the animated series, he had some good appearances. His 3 episodes in there, were awesome, including his first appearance, the one that's called If You're So Smart, Why Aren't You Rich? And, the Riddler, the thing about him is that, he's always trying to outthink Batman, and he's always leaving out clues, these riddles, and like Batman solves them. So it's more of a mind game, but Batman always figures it out. And it's the thing, it's like the Riddler can't stop, doing riddles. Like he cannot stop with the riddles. And they even played it up in the Batman movie, the '66 Batman movie, where like he wants to like do a riddle, blast like a riddle in the sky from the missile. And the Joker, he's like trying to stop him. He's like, no, you can't do this. And the Riddler's like, oh, I must. And he just goes crazy and laughs. And Joker, he goes like, Riddler, come back here. It's like, yeah, I mean, like at that point I would have like bitch slapped him. I just would have been like, motherfucker, that's how he keeps catching us. And so yeah, the Riddler comes in at number 9. Coming in at number 8, we have Carmine Falcone, one of 2 mob bosses on this list. I mean, Carmine, he's been, I mean, in the comics, I mean, his legend has grown. I mean, of course, from year 1 to The Long Halloween, and then he's been featured in many other comics, and even being featured in movies. I mean, like he was in Batman Begins, and then he was also in The Batman, and I mean, playing like he really is like, the godfather of the Batman universe. And he's a tremendous, just a tremendous crime boss, So, and actually go back and read those stories because, those are good stories. Coming in at number 7, this is another mob boss. And this one, he's only been featured in the comics and in the animated series, but never the movies. And I hope and pray to God that one day he does get featured in the movies. Rupert Thorne. Yeah, Rupert Thorne. I became aware of Rupert Thorne in the animated series, especially with the origins of Two-Face, how Harvey Dent became Two-Face. I mean, that was great, and Harvey wanting to get revenge on him and stuff like that, because Rupert Thorne just kept getting away, with avoiding prosecution, and then, he had Harvey's secret files and caused Harvey to snap. And, then there was the big explosion, which eventually turns him into Harvey Dent. And of course, he later on shows up in other stories. Another one is the one with Bane. I mean, yeah, the first appearance of Bane, I mean, that was incredible. I mean, I thought that was tremendous as well. So, so yeah, Rupert Thorne, I put at number seven. And like I said, they really need to put him in a movie. I really hope that in future Batman movies, they put him in there because they use Maroni, they use Falcone, they use Carl Grissom, but they have never used Rupert Thorne. So coming in at number six is the Scarecrow. The Scarecrow, that's another villain that I was aware of in from the animated series. I first became aware of him, and I loved his appearances in Batman the animated series. I especially like the one with Robin, where like the fear powder affected Robin's friend, and then Robin was like afraid to do heights and stuff like that. And I also loved him in the new Batman Adventures, which was like a continuation of the animated series, especially in the episode Over the Edge. When it looked like he appeared that he killed Batgirl. Spoiler alert, he didn't. It was part of a bad dream, infecting Batgirl. And, I love the new look, where he really did look more of a grimacing scarecrow. He looked really more scary like, you know. And also go read Haunted Night as well. Like he was great in Jeff Loeb's Haunted Night. He was also great in Long Halloween as well. I mean, those scarecrows were the Jeff Loeb scarecrows were the scarecrows that inspired the scarecrow in the Nolan Batman films. And the Nolan Batman films, he was great in that one, and he was just tremendous in that one. I don't think there'll ever be another actor who can play the Scarecrow as good as that actor was. Coming in at number 5, we have Mr. Freeze. And Mr. Freeze was another character which, once again, I knew from the animated series. Yeah, most of the Batman villains I discovered were from the animated series. I mean, I already knew who Two-Face was, and some of the others here, but Mr. Freeze, I became aware of him from the animated series, and Mr. Freeze, was just cold and menacing. I mean, his his appearances on the animated series were just incredible. His first two ones were good. I actually liked his third one in the New Avengers. A lot of people didn't like the new look, like his body where it was only his head and it was only held together by, robotics, mechanics, and stuff like that. I really didn't mind that, but his first two appearances were great, and I loved him in Sub-Zero, which was the second Batman animated film, and I thought he was great in that as well. And I also loved him in Batman Beyond too. I mean, voiced by the same actor. I mean, that guy, he was the perfect voice for Mr. Freeze, in my opinion. Batman, yeah, I mean, Arnold Schwarzenegger's Mr. Freeze, and I love Arnold Schwarzenegger, but still. And I've also read a few comic stories that he's been into as well. So like I love Mr. Freeze. So I mean, I hope that they bring him back to the movies and hopefully find somebody who could do him right. Coming in at number 4 is Two-Face. Yep, Two-Face. And Two-Face in the comics and in the cartoon, I mean, he's tremendous. Because he has like that coin where it's like, heads you live, tails you die. And the thing about it is that, he just has this dark side to him. He's always had this dark side. But before then, he was like the district attorney, and he was Bruce Wayne's friend, and then of course in the comics, the real true origin is that he gets acid splashed in his face, and then he becomes Two Face. Of course, in the Dark Knight, half his face was blown off by the Joker, and the Two Face character. I mean, that's what makes it more personal for Batman, because it's like he's his friend and he's been wanting to help him, but it's just there's just this duality. I mean, in the comics, there are times when it looks like Harvey gets his face repaired, he's gonna go back to normal, but then he just winds up going back to being Two Face. I mean, of course, most famous is in Dark Knight Returns, and then there's one that was part of the Batman Black and White Volume 1, which is another graphic novel that I'm trying to get. I've read the story. I read the story. I thought the story was awesome, but I really want to get at it. I want to own it. And so yeah, and also I liked Aaron Eckhart's Two Face better than Tommy Lee's. I understand what they were trying to go for, but I didn't like it. I thought they really should have stuck with Billy D. Williams as Two Face. Because he was supposed to be, well, he played Harvey Dent in Batman '89, and he was supposed to be in the sequels as Two Face, but that never happened, which is unfortunate. Coming in at number 3, another character who, once again, I discovered from the animated series was Bane. Yeah, Bane is like, he is a real great physical matchup for Batman. In the comics, in the movies, in the cartoon series. Because it's like, he pumps his body full of venom, and this guy is like, a lot of people compared him to like, Brock Lesnar, because he's just like a pro wrestler and stuff like that, with a mask and shit. Like, he is Brock Lesnar. Imagine if Brock Lesnar ate Brock Lesnar. That's the best way I can describe it. It's Brock Lesnar if he ate Brock Lesnar. And Batman and Bane, they've had many great showdowns, including in Bane's first appearance on the animated series. I just love the part where, like, he screams out, he goes, "I will break you!" And I also like the part where, like, as, like, he's about to break his back, just like he did in the Nightfall series, the Nightfall story arc, and Batman, like, takes the Batarang and damages his venom supply thing, and it's just going crazy. He's getting pumped full of venom, and Bane's like, no, the venom, gotta stop it. And then, like, his the red things pops out of his mask, and he's going, "No, help me!" I remember in the comment section on YouTube, looking at that video, they said that it's like someone taking a shit and it hurts. And I can attest to that. Not to get all TMI, but yeah, it's kind of like, when you're taking a big old shit and after you release it, it's just like, ah, and he goes, and then the last part, Benny goes, "You cannot do this to me. I am invincible. I am Bane." And Batman just pulls the plug right out, and he just falls down. But and also, the fight in the Dark Knight Rises. Bane and Batman. They just had wars. Just great matches, including the final match where Batman is all healed, his back is healed, and he just goes toe to toe with Bane. It's just incredible. And yeah, so definitely go watch that, and also go read the the Nightfall series. I read a little bit of it, but I really want to collect them. And also go read Vengeance of Bane, which was like his origin story. I mean, it's one of the great origin stories in comic books, in my opinion. I mean, it really is. I mean, just really go back and read it because it's incredible. You will not be disappointed by it. And coming in at number 2, we have the James Bond villain of of, of the Batman universe. Yep, he's been called the Bond villain of it. Ra's al Ghul, or Ra's al Ghul. Either way, doesn't really matter. It was created by Denny O'Neil in the comics. Denny O'Neil and Neil Adams. And what it means is the head of the demon, or the demon's head. And I first discovered him in the animated series, where like the first two-parter, which they got from the comics actually, and I actually do have that big, comic, special edition comic in my room here, and it is, Ra's al Ghul. I mean, he really, just like Batman, he wants to help make the world a better place, but it's different philosophies. Like Batman's just like, okay, crime, just stop it, eradicate it, and Ra's al Ghul is just like, okay, let's just burn the whole world down, and I'll take over, and we will enforce a new world order and stuff like that. And that's why he created the Society of, it's either the League of Shadows or Society of Shadows, whatever you call it. And these two have had like great battles. They've had great battles, and in the comics, and also on the cartoon series, and I mean, just tremendous. And on top of all that, his daughter, Talia, is in love with Batman, and they eventually have a baby, which turns out to be Damian Wayne, who is like the fourth Robin. Actually, I think he's still the current Robin. Actually, yeah, and just tremendous. I mean, just some great stories. I've actually haven't read like the demon stories, like the Birth of the Demon or the Son of the Demon, but I heard that they're pretty good, and those are some books I actually want to try and read as well. So, but yeah, Ra's al Ghul, definitely coming in at number 2. And coming in at number 1, no big surprise, the Joker. I mean, what more can you say about the Joker that already hasn't been said? He's evil, he's sadistic, psychotic. I mean, he is like the greatest Batman villain out there, And there are some great Joker stories too. There's the Laughing Fish, his role in Dark Knight Returns. There's the Killing Joke. There's even before all those, you have like Death in the Family. Death in the Family. That was the one where Jason Todd, the second Robin, got killed. And then Joker, also appears in The Long Halloween. He's in, he's just in a whole bunch of other Batman stories, and he's just an amazing villain. He's the villain everybody just loves to hate. That's why, in the movies that he appears in, it's just great. It's always a great showdown. Batman '89. Jack Nicholson and Michael Keaton. Their fight on top of the cathedral. And great one-liners too by the Joker, in that one, especially the part where he goes, "You ever dance with the devil by the pale moonlight?" That's a good one. Yeah, that's a good one. And then of course, the Dark Knight. That was a good one. Heath Ledger. He blew it out of the park, and I'm so glad he won the Oscar. I actually remember watching the Oscars that night when he got nominated, and I was like, man, if he doesn't win this, I'm never watching the Oscars again. Because, I would, like, sometimes watch the Oscars, sometimes win, and I haven't really fully watched it in years. I don't think since then, but I remember they announced his name. He said the winner is Heath Ledger, and I just remember being so excited. And I screamed out. I said, "Yes, yes!" Because he really did deserve that. I mean, his best performance. Well, one of his best performances. It was just a great. Just a great actor, and gone too soon. But definitely go read yourself some Joker stories. I mean, because the Joker, I mean, he really is the greatest Batman villain of all time. Greatest villain of all time, and all of superheroes. That's sort of debatable, but is he the greatest? I wouldn't say the greatest villain in the whole entire DC universe. I think that number one spot goes to Lex Luthor, but yeah, the Joker definitely the number one villain in the Batman's rogue gallery. No debate on that one. And finally tonight, I'm gonna give my review on Dark Side of the Ring, on Vader, and most of the stuff I already knew about Vader. I knew about. Well, I didn't know much about his childhood. I mean, they did talk about it. They talked about how he grew up in a household full of violence, and having to defend his mom. He had to be the man of the house when his father left. I played football. I played at Colorado, and he did get drafted to the NFL, but then I think he was injured, reserved, or whatever. And then he decided to get into professional wrestling, like most ex-football players do. And, started out in the AWA. He was just Leon White. And, he went over to Japan, and that's when he became the Vader character. And that was created by Antonio Inoki. And the character was like a samurai. He was like a samurai with big muscles and stuff. And there was actually sketches of the original designs of what the character was supposed to look like. And actually, believe it or not, what not too many people know about this, although most diehard wrestling fans do, is that originally that was supposed to be the Ultimate Warrior. Yeah, Jim Hellwig. Well, when Jim Hellwig left World Class, he left World Class, after being the Dingo Warrior. Before he got called to WWF, he was offered to go to Japan, and he was going to be called. He was supposed to be the Vader character because he was supposed to be muscles upon muscles, like you see with the Ultimate Warrior. But of course. Eventually, the Warrior went to the WWF. The rest is history on that one. And Leon White became, Vader. And he had great matches with Stan Hansen. Actually, Stan Hansen was one of the people that trained him. Him and Bruiser Brody. And they trained him to be stiff. I mean, that was one of the the legends of Vader was that, he was stiff as shit. I mean, there were times when he would really injure his opponents, and or he would really hurt them real bad. I mean, the stories of him, breaking Sting's rib when they worked the program. If you go back to his match with Cactus Jack McFoley on WCW Saturday Night, I think it was actually the first time they actually wrestled each other. Vader was just pounding on his snout, just bam, 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 and actually broke his nose. Yeah, he broke his nose and stuff. And they even talked with the guy Joe Thursman, who was the guy Vader, who took him out of wrestling. He broke his back on a power bomb, and Joe Thurman. He had to stop wrestling after that. He got a few acting roles, but that was pretty much it. And he was upset. And when Vader went to check on him, he was he really let him have it, and because he said you didn't protect me and stuff like that. And he was really stiff with him as well. And I mean, Vader. I mean, he was just. I mean, of course, Vader. He's known to take it as well. He could dish it out and he could take it. I mean, in one of the matches with Stan Hansen, like he lost an eye. Yeah, his eyeball popped right out of his socket, and he he just took the eyeball and just put it back in. So that tells you how tough he was. And I mean, his best matches, I mean, without a doubt, were in WCW. I mean, the matches with Sting, with Ron Simmons, with Ric Flair, Cactus Jack. I mean, those are some great, wonderful matches, you know. And then, of course, 1994, Hulk Hogan comes along, and Hogan, being the politician, you know, of course, wound up making Vader like be more of a character of himself, because Vader he used to be really stiff as shit, but he wouldn't be stiff with Hogan. Hogan was just like, that doesn't work for me, brother. And then, of course, Vader eventually got fired when he got beat up by Paul Orndorff, and Paul Orndorff by this time was like retired. But he was more like handling talent. He was like training guys at the WCW power plant by this time, and he was getting on Vader about like being late to a photo shoot, and Paul Orndorff beat the shit out of Vader. And it was actually kicking him in the head with his flip flops. Yeah, Paul Orndorff was having his flip flops, and he still kicked him in the head. And of course, Vader was the fall guy. He got fired, and he was actually supposed to be on the first WCW Nitro. He was supposed to be on the first episode. And if you go back to the first episode and you look at the original TV intro, you see Vader there. Like they showed a clip of Vader, but of course, he wound up getting fired by that time. And he was also supposed to be in the War Games match with the Hulkamaniacs against the Dungeon of Doom. And he wound up going to WWF. Of course, he went in there injured his shoulder, took some time off. That's why they did the thing where he beat up Gorilla Monsoon. Then, he comes back and, works a program with Shawn Michaels, and of course, we all know what happened there. The match at SummerSlam '96 was like the beginning of the end for Vader's career in WWF. Because Shawn was supposed to come out the top rope, with an elbow, and Vader was supposed to move. Vader didn't move, and I guess Vader didn't hear him or anything. And Shawn, you see him on there, he just kicks him in the head. He goes, "Move!" Kicks him, and he goes, "Move, you asshole!" and all that. And Shawn, he did apologize in his book. Yeah, because I read his book years later, and Shawn did apologize. And and Vader was kind of known for injuring some people, and like he was, he, nobody wanted to work with him, and Vader became like high maintenance, like wanting to do this and do that, and then, of course, the thing in Kuwait, where, like, he grabbed the guy, the talk show host was like, is this, hey, is what you do fake, and stuff, and he got placed on house arrest in the hotel, and, of course, eventually was brought back to the United States, and, for the most part, he pretty much jobbed to guys, like after that, he was, he never really worked like the main event scene ever, but he did work like Ken Shamrock when Shamrock first came to the WWF. They had a match at In Your House, which ironically was called like I forget what it was called. I think it was called Vader Time or something. I don't know. I don't know what it was, but they had a no holds barred match, kind of like a shoot UFC type match, and it's a good match. You go back and watch it. It's awesome, and he worked a few matches with like Undertaker and Goldust, and he even worked with Kane. I remember like at the No Way Out pay per view, which I saw with my cousins, Jeffrey and Ken, who used to live next door to me at the time at the old house, and like Kane took a wrench and just boom, took it to Vader. And Vader would come back like months later, and then of course, just kept losing matches. And at one point, he took off the mask and said, I'm a fat piece of shit. That's why I lost, and Vader time is over. And then he retired. Well, not retired, but he left, and he had a resurgence in Japan. He went back to Japan and had a resurgence, but then his heart was bad, and of course he was taking drugs too. He was on pills and alcohol, and it eventually led to him and his wife getting divorced. Because and Vader, like, he just couldn't. That was another part of why the marriage. The other part of the marriage was because like Vader, he he just couldn't stop being Vader. He couldn't be Leon White. His wife said so in the episode. He's like, like he didn't, when he get mad and pissed off, he would turn into the Vader character, and that's the thing about wrestlers. Like some people, they got so entangled into their characters. They became their, it's like they become them. They're no longer the person that they were before. You've heard this about like New Jack, which they talked about in the Dark Side of the Ring episode on New Jack, and Jake Roberts. He was famous for that. And Jake, even in the episode he did with about his family, he said like, I only know how to be Jake. I don't know how to be Aurelian Smith. I had to put him away a long time ago, which is sad. And Vader, once he became Vader, he was no longer Leon White until he was near death. He had heart problems. He was given like 2 years to live, and his wife said like, sat with him, and Vader apologized. He apologized, and she said, at that point he was Leon White. He was not Vader. And of course, Vader eventually passed away, and and when Vader got inducted into the Hall of Fame, that was, and I saw that Hall of Fame induction ceremony, and it was amazing. He should have gotten in. He got to induct Stan Hansen, who was also in the episode, by the way. But people were, Vader for years wanted to be in the Hall of Fame, and he didn't get inducted, and but now he's. And of course, now he is part of the Hall of Fame, but I really wish that he would have gone in while he was alive. That's one of the speeches I would have loved to hear. That and Macho Man, those were two speeches I would have loved to hear. As they went into the Hall of Fame, I would have loved to hear that. And it's a great episode. It's sad, what happened to him later on in his career. WCW. Amazing, great matches. Like I said, go back and watch those matches. I'm actually gonna, I'm actually inspired to do like a top 10 Vader matches. So like, go ahead and go ahead and watch those matches. But I will do a top 10 Vader matches soon. And that will do it. That will do it for this episode. Tomorrow it is the last WrestleMania Tuesday, so make sure you all tune in. We've got some more classic WrestleMania matches. And then Thursday, as I mentioned before, I have my predictions. So, we'll have the predictions, not only for WrestleMania Night 1 and 2, but I will also be doing my predictions for NXT Stand and Deliver. And yes, I will do a podcast immediately after that show goes off. So make sure you all tune in for that one. And until then, this is Matthew Burris saying toodaloo, motherfuckers.